Mr. Duncan, if you could stand up for me, please, sir. Mr. Duncan, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and the purpose of these questions is just to make sure that everything in your case is said out loud and it's being taken down by the court reporter. So if you'll please answer out loud so that she can hear you. Are you able to hear and understand me?
Yes.
You understand you have the right to remain silent, and any statement that you make in court can be used against you?
Yes.
I understand, sir, that you completed high school, so you read and write at least at that level. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you now under the influence of alcohol, drugs, narcotics, medicines, pills, or prescriptions?
No.
I understand from the transcript here that the last time you used anything like that was several years ago. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Have the charges been explained to you by your attorneys? Do you understand the nature of those charges? And have you discussed every element of each charge with your attorneys?
Yes.
Have you and your attorneys discussed possible defenses you might have to these matters?
Yes.
And are you satisfied with their legal services?
Yes.
You understand that you do not have to plead guilty. You could plead not guilty and require the state to prove your guilt to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yes.
You understand that the state would have the burden of proving every element of every offense at a jury trial, also any aggravating factors, all beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yes.
And do you understand that your attorneys could confront and cross-examine all witnesses that were called against you?
Yes.
You understand that by pleading today to these charges that you're giving up those rights that I've been through with you to a jury trial, also any rights to a jury trial, most of your rights to appeal to state and federal courts.
Yes.
Are you a U.S. citizen, Mr. Duncan?
Yes, sir.
You understand that your plea of guilty will allow the state to reserve certain biological evidence in your name, including keeping your DNA in the state database?
Yes.
You understand you're pleading guilty to 6 separate matters in 06 CRS 12144, 12145, and 12146, and 12147, 4 counts of second-degree murder.
Yes, sir.
You understand in 06 CRS you're pleading guilty to 1 count. I'm sorry, 06 CRS 12148, you're pleading guilty to 1 count of attempted first-degree murder.
Yes, sir.
And in 06 CRS 12149, 1 count of robbery with a dangerous weapon.
Yes.
Now, sir, this is not your plea arrangement, but do you understand that the maximum possible for those sentences, if you receive the maximum for all of those charges and they were run consecutively, you could receive a maximum of 2,584 months in the Division of Adult Corrections?
Yes.
And are you pleading guilty to those matters today, sir?
Yes.
Are you in fact guilty of these matters?
Yes.
Do you understand you have a right during our hearing today to prove to the court any mitigating factors you may wish to bring to the court's attention about your case?
Yes.
I understand, Mr. Duncan, that you've agreed to plead guilty as part of a plea arrangement that your counsels have been able to work out with the state. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
My understanding of that plea arrangement is that you are pleading guilty to the 4 counts of second-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, and robbery with a dangerous weapon. You will receive 2 sentences. For 2 counts of second-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder, you will receive a sentence in the presumptive or the normal range of 216, a minimum of 216, and a maximum of 269 months. In the other judgment for 2 counts of second-degree murder and robbery with a dangerous weapon, you will receive a consecutive sentence of a minimum of 216 and a maximum of 269 months. You will receive credit for the time you've spent awaiting trial after being released from your federal sentence. And my understanding from your attorneys and from the district attorney is that your federal release date was January the 9th of 2015, which yields credit of, Mr. Tyndall, how long?
Yeah, I have 592 days.
592 days. That appears to me, Mr. Duncan, to be your complete plea arrangement. Is that your understanding, sir?
Yes.
And do you accept that arrangement, sir?
Yes.
Other than the plea arrangement that your attorneys have been able to work out with the district attorney, has anyone promised you anything or threatened you in any way to cause you to enter this plea against your wishes?
No.
So you entered this plea of your own free will and you understand its consequences. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Do you agree that there are facts that allow a court to accept a plea in all of these separate charges and understand that the district attorney will just summarize the facts of the case for me?
Yes.
And do you have any questions, Mr. Duncan, about the questions I've asked you so far or anything else connected with your case?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Duncan, it appears to me that you've already signed this with your signature, Rodrick Duncan. Is that correct,
Yes, sir.
All right. I also have before me your prior record level worksheet, which shows certain prior convictions. Have you had a chance to look at that with your attorneys?
Yes, sir.
All right. I have to ask you specifically about one matter. On the 30th of October in 2006, were you convicted in federal court of selling cocaine, and was that conviction a felony?
Yes.
And other than that charge, do you agree the other matters exist on your record?
Yes.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Duncan. You may have a seat, and I'll hear from the district attorney.
State's evidence would show that on November 19, 2005, at about 9:36 p.m., officers with the Durham Police Department were dispatched to 2222 Alpine Road, pursuant to a report of gunshots. While en route, Corporal Brown saw an individual later identified as McCory Upchurch. Actually was flagged down by Mr. Upchurch, and then proceeded to 2222 Alpine Road. Officers found another victim in the front yard of 2222 Alpine Road, as later identified as Alex Schuer. These victims that the officers initially encountered indicated that there were 4 victims inside upstairs. The officers then proceeded to enter the residence at 2222 Alpine and noticed fresh blood on the floor of the entryway and the kitchen, an unfired handgun round on the living room floor, and several places with blood on the stair walls as they went up the stairs. Also noticed marijuana scattered on the stairs. When the officers got upstairs, in a room they found 4 black males lying face down on actually in the rear bedroom floor. They were lying close together. Each appeared to have been shot in the head. They saw blood spatter on the walls in this rear room. McCory Upchurch initially spoke to officers and continued to speak to officers during the course of the investigation. He stated that on that night, November 19th, when he went to 2222 Alpine Road, he said that Juan and Lennis Harris were there. They lived there, and that they were roommates. He went there, said at least 2 others came over. Said they were upstairs playing a John Madden video game when the doorbell rang. Juan went downstairs to answer the door. He heard voices telling Juan to get down. And McCory said at one point he bent over, and before he rose, someone told him not to move. Said he saw 3 black males with ski masks on that would eventually go through their pockets and rob them. At some point, one of the assailants asked where is it? And they were directed to marijuana. Juan asked, "Why are you doing this, Ned?" Defendant was, there was a name the defendant went by. An individual, when Juan asked this question, did respond verbally, and that's when all the victims were walked to another room upstairs, that rear bedroom, in order on the ground, face down. After they were ordered to the ground, music was turned up loud. Upchurch heard shots. He noticed that Alex Schuler then got up and ran out. Shots were fired at Schuler. At some point, Upchurch heard one of the individuals say he didn't have any more bullets. At that point, Upchurch got up and he struggled with the man in the ski mask, eventually getting to the window, opening the window, and jumping out before going to seek help. The individuals that the officers did find had been killed and were dead on the scene. Those individuals and victims were identified as Lajuan Coleman, Jamal Halloway, Lennis Harris Jr., and Jonathan Skinner. During the investigation, among the things that the investigators did was speak to several people, including Haywood Scott. He said that the defendant borrowed his car and had his car on November 19, 2005. When he got the car back the next day, he noticed that the transmission was the car was leaking transmission fluid. Officers did find leaked transmission fluid behind the residence at 2222 Alpine Road. During the course of the investigation interviews, Upchurch also provided information in his statements that Juan had known and had been associated with the defendant. On one occasion, very recent to November 19, 2005, Juan asked the defendant for marijuana. The defendant did provide it, and based on what on Mr. Upchurch's observations, Juan did know at least one place where the defendant had kept marijuana, or a large amount of marijuana. Mr. Coleman, Mr. Halloway, Mr. Harris, and Mr. Skinner bodies were examined by the medical examiner, and each sustained multiple gunshot wounds. Mr. Halloway sustained a gunshot wound to the head and multiple gunshot wounds, only one to the head. The others sustained multiple gunshot wounds to the head. The cause of death to all would have been injuries sustained related to the gunshot wounds to the head. Alex Schuler sustained and survived a gunshot wound to his head. That would be the evidence for the state.
Would you all like to add to the facts at all?
No, sir.
Court finds a factual basis for all 6 pleas to all 6 separate counts and the elements thereof. I'd be happy to hear from the defendants.
As to the sentencing, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, we would just ask the court to accept the plea. Mr. Duncan is not going to make a statement. And he has asked me to simply tell the court that he didn't feel any statement he could make would honor the memories of these young men. He accepts full responsibility, Your Honor. I've represented him for years and can tell the court that for a number of years I have known the story, and he is as remorseful as any person I've ever represented.
Steve, would you like to be heard? Mr. Eccleston.
Your Honor, I've informed the families of the victims that are represented in the courtroom behind me that I would ask the court to give them opportunity to speak, and so at this time I would do that.
All right, sir. Hello, Lennis.
Your Honor, how you doing?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I mentioned this the other day. We've had several wars: World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. We have soldiers that have shot people that they don't know because they're in war, in wartime. Many of these soldiers come back home having issues, having killing somebody, and they can't cope. I don't understand how a man can shoot people that they know, that they grew up with, that you have laughed and played with as children. How you can lay them down, look them in the eye, and shoot them in the head. What kind of a human being can do that? He's getting 36 years. That's not even life. 5 families back here have received the death penalty. 5. The death penalty. Because we can't talk to our children anymore, only through prayer. I don't know what to say. These past 10.75 years has been pure hell on all of us. All of us. We can't sleep. We can't look at young men with their pants down and hats turned sideways. We can't look at them. It's not fair. There's so much I can say, I can't remember it. It's hard. I really, in my heart, want to feel sorry for this young man. I really do, in my heart, want to feel sorry for him. But it's hard to do. I loved my son. We loved our sons. How can you do this kind of carnage to another human being? and then go home and sit down and laugh about how they reacted, how they ran out of bullets. How can you pistol whip before you murder them and shoot them in the head? How can you pistol whip another human being over pot? The sad part, the saddest part, is that same pot was distributed right back to the streets, and it's up in smoke and gone. Just like our babies. Gone. All for some pot. Where can children go to be safe? Where can your children go? One child came to pass out invitations for his college graduation. My nephew came by to play video games. Video games. That's all. Well, Mr. Duncan, you missed one, and that was me. I was on my way over there. South Point Mall was having their Christmas gathering out there. We had fireworks. The traffic was so bad that the police won't even allow fireworks to be out there anymore. It was that bad. You can look at me. It was so bad that the police won't allow fireworks to be out there anymore. It was so bad, I was on my way over to Alpine just to see how my son was doing. The traffic was so bad, I said, I'll just stop by and see him tomorrow. By the time I got home, got upstairs and took my coat off, my daughter called me and said, Lennis Jr.'s been shot. And it doesn't look good. She and her mother were in Winston-Salem at the time. My wife and I jumped in the car, and we head that way. If the traffic wasn't bad, I would have been there too. I'll tell you something, Mr. Duncan. The pain, I can't speak for the pain of everybody else. I know they're in pain as well. But my pain, I wish I was in there. Because I wouldn't be living the hell I'm living in there. Maybe you could understand a little bit. Suppose somebody did that to your mother or your sister. Your child, you wouldn't want them dead. You would want them dead. Your Honor, thank you for this time. Of course, thank you.
Ms. Harris, let me say something to you. You served the city of Durham with dignity
Yes.
for a lot of years. And I thank you for your public service. And you have yourself with dignity over the last 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am. Could you just tell me who you are?
My name is Sandra Coleman. My son, Lajuan Duncan Coleman. What I have to say to Rod, and I do call you Rod, because you were just like a son to me. I want to know why. I mean, just tell me why. He was your best friend. And did you have so much hate in your heart for him? I don't understand it. You would come over to my home, eat my food, drive my car, and you just go over and just take his life and his friend's life. For what? I don't understand it, Rod. Come on, look at me. Why, Rod? Why? Can you tell me? Well, you know what? I don't have a lot to say, but you go remember, Rod, Juan is going to be in your mind constantly. And he's going to tell you what. I hate to say that, but it's going to happen. And I'm pretty sure it's happening now. Your Honor, that's all I have to say. Thank you. Your Honor, and everyone here, I'm Marcia Harris. I'm Lennis's birth mother. This is my sister. We're holding hands today because our boys died just like this. My sister's son was visiting my son, and I was out of town when this happened. I heard my son was shot, and I called my sister and her husband to come to my aid. And you don't know what it feels like that she came to help me and found her own son dead, who I'm sure you didn't even know. The pain that I have carried has been doubled. Now, I thought about this all day long, and interestingly enough, before this happened, before this day happened, I said, God, I have to forgive this man from my heart. I was sitting at work this morning, and before I came, I said, God, he said, do you love me? I said, yes. He said, then you have to love everybody. That includes you. So I want you to know that I brought this rose with me today because this was my son's trademark. His rose meant, I love you, Mom. I might not be doing all that you're telling me, but every time I got a rose, I knew it stood for his love for me. Now I'm buying my own. On November 19, 2015, I had just retired. 2005. I just retired from a job after 28 years. I was happy. I had some money in the bank. 2 months later, my whole life was shattered. But you know what? Despite what happened to me, I still ask God to put it in my heart to forgive you. See, when I look at you, I'm looking at a son. You're not my son, but you're somebody else's son. And when you were born, God had a purpose for your life, and I don't think it was to be a murderer. You were born with a purpose, and it's not too late even now. You can turn it around, even in the jailhouse. You don't have to be the baddest and the biggest there. You can win the respect of others by being a good example to everybody else. Let them see that God has given you another chance. Because you could not be here today. But because he has spared you for 10 years and did not allow to take you away, there's something else in you. And I'm going to stand on it, that there's some good in you. And I'll ask God to prick your heart. And I ask God to let you be an example. When you close your eyes, I don't want you to just hear gunshots, the ones that, that killed our sons. When you close your eyes, I want you to call out the name of Jesus. I'm asking you, and I challenge you to give your life to Christ. The reason I can stand here today, and you don't see tears flowing right now, is because my son had done that. And I think you knew Lennis Jr., and I think you might have even eaten at my table. But despite that, if you look back at anything Lennis Jr. ever did, it was about love. He loved everybody.
And I stand here as his voice today with love for you in my heart. I didn't think I could, but I have no other choice. So I'm asking you today to give your life to the Lord and let him use you in that jail cell to straighten out some of the lives of the other people who are there. Your life is not over. It's only just begun. But it's your choice. There are consequences for what you did, but I don't get the final say. It's in God's hands. And no matter what you did and how bad it was, you can't run from the love of God. That's how much he loves all of us. He's forgiven. I've got to be forgiven. This is my daughter. I asked God for 2 children, a boy and a girl. I wanted an older brother because I have one. He gave me what I wanted. But you turned our life upside down in one night. And I want you to know, again, as I stand here, I'm looking you in your eye, and I'm saying, I forgive you. And I'm not just saying it. It's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your Honor, my name is Claudia Skinner. This is my husband, Lennis Skinner. Jonathan Skinner was our youngest son. Now, I can't do a thing for him now. I'm just standing to let you know that you took my heart right out of my chest when you took my child's life. Thank you, Your Honor. I had one more week to finish school before you did what you did. That's all I wanted to do was close out my semester. But I did it. I got my degree. Amen. And because of that, I'm still thankful. So you didn't take that, but you took my brother. You took my cousin. I will never have an opportunity to have nieces or nephews that may look like me or my brother. I will never have that opportunity. My cousin Linwood will never have that opportunity because of that. We're left to be only children. I don't have any big brother to go to now about men for advice about love. I don't have that anymore. I don't have that support. That has pierced me. My social life, I don't trust anybody in the city of Durham. I don't trust it at all. And the biggest thing is black lives being killed by cops. Not all cops, because there are some good cops. But please be that example. And anybody in this courtroom, black men, we got to stop killing each other. If we lives matter, this is where it starts. So let this be an example. Stop taking each other's lives. Stop taking lives. Put the guns down. And peace. Utilize peace. That's what's more important. Love. Who cares about cocaine and weed? Who cares about that? That ain't worth a life. You got 5 families back here, 6 families back here hurting and can't even pick up the phone and call their relatives anymore because of that. I don't know if I love or hate you, but I know I have to love you. I have to forgive in order to move forward. I have to. I don't know how you even sleep at night, how you slept. I struggle sleeping thinking about student loans that I owe. You took 4 lives. And I just pray that the right thing is done. The ultimate thing is done, that justice is served overall. Because it's not fair. You still have your family.
We don't have ours. Let that soak in. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I'm Gloria Washington. I'm Jamal Halloway's mother. Today would have been Jamel's birthday. And I try to live a good life, and I serve a good God. I raised Jamel, and my daughter's all alone. And I did not raise him without the Bible because I know the words are true. Whenever Jamel did something at school, I wasn't far from that school, I would get a switch, walk to that school, tell the principal to lock the door. So Jamel didn't give me trouble like he could have. He finished college and he worked with people, helping other people get jobs, and he showed them how to do those jobs. Jamel was off from work that weekend because he worked 2 full-time jobs, and his boss couldn't afford to pay him for weekends. So he was off that weekend, and see, I sing a lot in my church, and so he said, well, Mom, I can be able to hear you sing now because I don't work on weekends. So when I get a call from my youngest daughter saying, Jamel been shot, I say, I'm going to get him, because I had no idea she was telling me he was dead. When I realized Jamel is dead, it's on Sunday morning. My cousin called me and asked me, is that Jamel we are hearing about? Because his daughter-in-law worked for the sheriff department. I said, oh my God, he's dead. Then here comes my church member to my house to console me. And with me being an only child and taking care of my mother, I just lost it. I did not know where I was. I run a business, and I always ran a daycare business because I taught school. And I felt like kids needed a good start. But I'm not here to judge him. I'm not here to ridicule, because that is not my place. But my thing is, it's a shame that anybody can get a gun. And I never let Jamel play guns in my house. No guns in my house. I was head of my house. He did what I said. He came back home from college and he thought he was going to have a vacation. I said, not here. You got to get a job. And so I did what I was supposed to have done. But I'm going to forgive this young man because the Lord knows my heart. And I read Matthew every morning about loving the Lord with all your heart and your soul and your mind. I read it every day. And it says, love your neighbor. So I'm going to love him because I want to do what's right. But I'm praying for him because he has a mother. And I know good and well his mother wouldn't want him in prison, where she got to stop what she's doing, because that's one thing I taught to Jamel. You would not go to jail because I'm not going to spend a weekend coming to visit anybody in prison. So I know his mother's hurting. But I'm just asking that you guys, whoever work for the court system, to do what is best for our people, because there was more than their charges that we're seeing, because they moved them. That is kidnapping. That is not on there. So it's a lot of things that if you sit back and look at things, you can see that he is getting a deal. And when they said he wanted to plead, I said, my son plead for his life. Because we were told that. I was told that my son said, you can have my money. He had just got paid. You can have my car. He had just bought a Volvo. He said, just don't kill me. They shot him in his head. And my best friend, who are undertakers, fixed his body just like they didn't shoot his eye out. They had to fix his eye. And I have to watch this as a parent, watch your child in a coffin when you think that you would not outlive your child. So I'm just asking for prayer for all of us, because we need it. We need this prayer. And nothing else can change what has happened already. And I thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Mr. Nicholson.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. There are any number of reasons why lawyers and judges make the decisions that they make and the specific judgments that they make, and sometimes those decisions are understood by none, few, many, and sometimes they aren't. This case is no different. In most cases, particularly those that involve violence, the public, law enforcement, court officials, victims' families, we often ask ourselves, why? We try to make sense out of it. And no matter how long you do it, you never make sense out of it. This case, with so many layers of hurt for the families, families knowing families, families knowing victims, families knowing the defendant. None of us can begin to empathize with the things that these families have gone through and are going through as we speak. It matters what we do in the courtroom. It matters in this case. Although, much like many cases that this court sees and that the courts in this courthouse and in this state and this country see, there is no judgment, no decision, no measure of punishment that can make these families whole again. And I know people in this courtroom, this court recognizes that. It wasn't lost on me. I was actually aware, as Ms. Halloway stated, that it was her son's birthday. It's also not lost on me that in 4 days from today it would be the defendant's 37th birthday. So as I think about the defendant having to serve at a minimum just over 34 years or more as a consequence of this plea, sure, it's not enough, but nothing is enough. And I just hope everything that has been said here, everything that the victims have gone through and this defendant has gone through serves as an example of how violence tears apart this community, is tearing apart communities across this state and this country. This case, clearly, it was easy to see that it hurt many people, even outside of the immediate families. So to the extent that this plea can, and just the resolution of the case can bring some type of closure to the families and friends of these young men, I hope that it does so. To the extent that any result would be appropriate, it would be impossible for this or any other result to be appropriate. But to some extent, a judgment day of some sort was going to have to come. Closure to this case was going to come. And the fact that it took over 10 years from the date of the offense victimizes the families more. I recognize that, and I think the people in the courtroom recognize that. And as we move forward as a community, as a county, I hope we all can be mindful of some of the things that the victims' families have said, and heal as a community. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tyndall, anything further, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Steele, anything from you?
No, sir.
Sir, if you'll stand up for me, please. Madam Clerk, in this matter, in 06 CRS 12144 and 06 CRS 12145, 06 CRS 12148, the defendant has pled guilty to 2 counts of second-degree murder and 1 count of attempted first-degree murder. Pursuant to his plea arrangement, those 3 charges are consolidated for 1 judgment. Court finds he's a prior record level 3 for purposes of sentencing. He has 6 points. 4 of those come from 4 misdemeanor charges in Durham, and 2 points come from a federal conviction of selling cocaine, to which he has stipulated, and the court treats that as a matter of law as a Class I felony, giving him 6 points. So in the presumptive range, he's sentenced for a Class B2 felony, prior record level 3, to a sentence of a minimum of 216 months and a maximum of 269 months in the Division of Adult Corrections, and for which he has 592 days of credit. In 06 CRS 12146, 06 CRS 12147, and 06 CRS 12149, he's pleading guilty to 2 counts of second-degree murder and 1 count of robbery with a dangerous weapon. In the second judgment, those charges are consolidated for 1 judgment into 06 CRS 12146, second-degree murder, which is a Class B2 felony. Again, he's a prior record level 3 with the same 6 points. The court again treats the federal conviction as a Class I felony, and he's sentenced in the presumptive range to a minimum of 216 and a maximum of 269 months in the Division of Adult Corrections, which sentence runs consecutively to the sentence imposed in the previous judgment, and for which he has no jail credit. Anything further, Mr. DA?
No, Your Honor.
Any further, Mr. Tim?
No, sir, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
May I approach him? Yes, sir.